Hello class and welcome to this Dino Riki NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and I guess the full title would be Adventures of Dino Riki. He's got a lot of adventures. We're just going to take a peek at some of them. His adventures are very difficult. In fact, they are so difficult, I'm going to give Adventures of Dino Riki a 9 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, which on the frustration scale equates to writhing around on the floor, cursing in tongues, probably because you just lost the wings, which Blaze is going to talk about. Item of the game, sorry, I wasn't supposed to give that away, but let's run the intro, get into this game, learn more about it, and show you the best way how you can stand half a chance in this bullet hell-like shooter. Alright, let's start a new game, and the first thing to do is take a look at the controls for Adventures of Dino Riki. Pretty basic, move around with the D-pad, pause with start, attack with B, jump with A, and we can hold down A when we have the wings to fly. As we take a look at the Briggs notes now for the Adventures of Dino Riki. First and foremost, no surprise, ABF, always be firing, turbo is your friend in this game. Secondly, stay in the middle of the bottom of the screen most of the time, so enemies from the sides can't sneak up on you, and it gives you more time to react to who's in front of you. Number 3, fly or die. This game is a lot more manageable. Still very difficult, but more manageable when you are flying, using the power-up that Blaze is going to talk about in just a moment. Number 4, jump if you don't have the speed-ups. You're a bit faster when you're jumping around. But the extra speed is a double-edged sword, those power-ups, which again, Blaze is going to talk about. Too much of those, and it becomes very difficult to make some of the platforming jumps you need, which goes back to our third point, fly or die. You don't have to worry about the jumps when you're flying around, but now let's take a look at the items of Dino Riki, very important, with Blaze.
Alright, let's talk about the items you will find in the Adventures of Dino Riki. First, you have the gem, which is worth 100 points, but honestly, points are the least of your concerns in this game, so don't worry about those so much. Then you have the meat, which refills 1 heart. You have the heart, which actually gives you an extra heart on your heart total, very important item. Then you have the fist, which upgrades your weapon. There are 4 different levels of weapons, starting with the wussy ball that you start off with, the very familiar axe, the boomerang, and then the fire, which goes everywhere. Obviously the best weapon. Every time you take damage, you'll drop down 1 weapon level, so keep that in mind. Then you have the star, which clears all the enemies on the screen. You have the speed up boots, which speeds up your speed. A little redundant there, but yeah, it makes you faster. Just like with the weapons, you have 4 different speed levels, and just like with the weapons, if you take damage, your speed will drop down 1 level. Then you have my item of the game, the bird, which gives you wings, allows you to fly when you jump for the first time with them. Hold down A to stay in the air, and just bypass large sections of the hardest platforming in this game if you can keep it. If you get hit while you're flying, you will immediately fall to the ground. Very dangerous if you're over water or a pit in that moment. And then finally, Macho Riki, which Fluff is going to talk about a little bit later, but makes you into a big wrestler guy, throws kind of clone versions of yourself. It's a very rare item, not really worth it, but focus on getting and keeping those wings.
Alright, thank you very much, Blaze. Yeah, keep an eye out for the wings which appear. They're invisible, you just need to trigger them by shooting in the right spot, like one just appeared right there. You'll notice when we're in the air, obviously we cannot pick up the items which are on the ground, which means we're going to be missing out on quite a few hearts, assuming we get to keep our wings most of the time. I will gladly stay in the air rather than having an extra meter of health, just to show you how important I think flying is in this game. Then it just, stays as a much more difficult legendary wings, a game like that, but I will gladly take that over some of the, just the very difficult jumps that they make you make, because the controls are a little bit too loose for my liking. I don't like to make excuses, but it's just very difficult, even on these early levels, to to make some of these jumps and get Riki to land where you want him to without going in the water. So, by the way, Riki can't swim. That's kind of what the whole issue is. But anyway, we have our first boss. Let's go to Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, the Pterodactyl is the first boss in the Adventures of Dino Riki, and for whatever reason, the bosses are easily the easiest part of this game. So with the Pterodactyl, just move left and right and keep firing. If you have the flames, just stand right in the middle and keep firing. You'll take him down.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. We are on to the second level now. One thing I could say about this game is it's pretty consistent in how they ratchet up the difficulty as you go. Some of the later levels are just insane. But, same idea right now. See, Blaze mentioned that if you take damage, you lose whatever speed you have. You drop down one level, but when you're all maxed out, like, it's just... We're just going at warp speed right there. And the same speed applies to when you're flying as well. A lot safer when you're flying around at high speed, rather than possibly being near these pits or other things which can kill you. Just waiting, there we go, waiting to use the wings till we had our maxed out weaponry. Be nice if they, to go back to legendary wings, it would be nice if they gave you 3 hits with the ultimate level weapon. There are a lot of similarities and overlap between the two games. You can fly over the fire, by the way, which is nice. But, yeah, 4 levels of weapon. I suppose they had 5, because they had the initial pea shooter, which is kind of like our ball weapon in this game. And then the twin shot, then the drill shot, as I called it, and the ball shot, which goes across the screen, that's 4, and then the Firebird, which is the ultimate. But it would be nice if, like the Firebird in that game, you could take 3 hits before you lost the ultimate level weapon in this game, but nope. But it is nice to be able to fly over that fire. I'm a little surprised they let you do that, actually. Note that when you're flying around, though, you can still get caught on walls. So I guess it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot flying abilities. Still, we'll take it, but it is a little cheap that you can't fly over these seemingly very short walls. But it's just something to keep in mind. You also note that your weapon does not go through the power-ups, so that can actually work against you when, you want to clear out some enemies that are coming in ahead of you, but that's acting as a barrier, even in the sky, which doesn't really make sense, but whatever. It's a difficult game. Not a lot of things are going to make sense. Again, staying in the bottom of the screen in the middle gives us more time to react. No cheap shots of enemies coming in and hitting us immediately. No one's virtually, ever coming in from the, right behind us. You think we'd be able to, fly over some of these projectiles too, but nope. That is a no on that front as well. More time to react to all these crazy things that are flying in ahead of us. Also keeps us from getting trapped in some of these bottleneck areas. You have a lot coming through. Sometimes you want to fly ahead just so you can give yourself a little bit more room. And obviously our weapons are not going past the, or over the walls here. The enemies seem to be able to fly above them, but anyway, it's time for the next boss, Gary.
Boss beater. T-Rex, you think they'd save this guy for last, but no. And you can see why. He's not that hard. Just move left and right, staying centered, and keep on firing with whatever weapon you have. It's all good. It's gonna work.
Vaporized him with the fire as Riki gives us a little wave. That's nice. That's cute. Definitely a contrast between how cute little Riki is and how difficult this game is. Can't help but notice that. But an interesting hero, Riki. Interesting protagonist. I think Fluff has some more information about him. Fluff?
The titular Riki is named after popular Japanese pro wrestler Riki Choshu. This is especially apparent when the player picks up the rare Machu Riki power-up, which Blaze talked about earlier, which temporarily transforms the main character into Choshu, complete with wrestler physique. Choshu even appeared in commercials and advertising for the game.
Thank you, Fluff. Yeah, the Macho Riki power-up is very rare. It's only in this game maybe once or twice. I happened upon it while I was running the game before we started class, just making sure I had a good grasp on this game, as I always do before we get ready. And so found it then, but have yet to find it this go-around. Again, there's only one or two instances of it in the game as far as I know, and it's not that useful, quite honestly. I'll gladly take the wings over that power-up any day of the week. Just keep me in the air over these crazy gaps. There's some very narrow jumping on this stage in particular. Note these skeleton guys keep firing, even when they're down. Also note we have some... There's one of those tight little windows right there. If you want that heart, you gotta do some very tricky jumping right there. Tricky Riki jumping to make that. Later they'll make you make those kind of jumps regardless, before you even get any wings. Stay back so we can see where these crevices are going to form as well. But yeah, these purple skeletons, you can't take them down, and they just linger on the ground. So it's really up to you whether you want them on the ground where you know where they'll be firing at you from, or if you want to kind of scroll them off the screen slightly faster, as we're dodging stuff on all sides right now. This is madness. Careful not to get caught in front of one of those walking fossils right there. They will, as we lost our wings, they will ground you and quite possibly kill you as well. It was sort of like that glitch in Legendary Wings, not to keep referencing that game, but where if you got caught in the wall, it would essentially kind of eat through all of your weapons at once and send you back to the first weapon level. So it kind of neuters you. It's a little glitchy. So while your speed changes depending on how many of the shoes you have, the jumping speed is always the same, so that's something that takes a minute to wrap your head around. You could be going a lot slower or faster than your jumps. And here's one of these awful, precise jumps we have to nail. I like a double tap right here to kind of get through there relatively quickly. The fact that Riki's always moving forward makes keeping yourself centered on one of those little platforms difficult. I'll let this guy pass us here, as you can easily just tap down if you're going too fast with too many speed ups and then just drop off that hole. We have 2 weapon power ups here before we fight the next boss. Speaking of which, Gary.
Spray the giant Cobra. Get in front of him if you can make it before he starts firing, and fire. Otherwise, just dodge his flames. If you have flames, stand just at the corner of the Cobra and keep firing. But you can take down his attacks with your weapon. If you get in front of him, just set up shop right in front of him, keep firing, you'll take him down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, can't get over how easy the bosses are in this game compared to everything else. All of the difficulty, all of it stems from the pits. Not the damage you're taking, not the bosses certainly, but just the pits. So at this point, level 4-1, we get a kind of a repeat of the themes, the environments of the first few levels. Make sure you grab the wings here at the start. Make this a whole lot easier. Hold on to them as long as possible, as always. So whereas we had 3 longer versions of those first 3 kind of biomes, now they throw slightly shorter versions of each type of level that we've already featured so far in the jungle and the desert and the, alien planet. I don't know how that works into the theme, but I guess we're not too concerned about that in this game. This is a dangerous area right here. We cannot fly over these bushes for some reason. Usually like to wait till I come out of the bush area before I launch the wings. Yeah, it's hard. Might make you wonder what kind of folks made this game. Speaking of which, let's bring in Fluff to find out who did make this game.
Players familiar with the other games from the developer will not be surprised one bit to learn Dino Riki was created by Hudson Soft, who also made other challenging NES games and Queen Eliza's needlessly annoying collection of impractical obstacle-filled Mile on Secret Castle and Adventure Island. Players might also note some similarities between Dino Riki and Adventure Island, from the weapons to even similar fonts used.
Alright, good call. And we have a repeat of the first boss, the Pterodactyl again. If you got the fire, this is another cakewalk especially. I don't know that he's any more difficult that time around, actually. That music sounds very Adventure Island, that victory music there at the end. So you can see that. By the way, you can check out our class on that. Link in the description. Another very challenging game for the NES, which we've done a class on somewhat recently. But unlike Adventure Island, that series, Dino Riki did not get any sequels as far as I know. And I'm not too bummed about it either. Find the pits. Obviously, jumping helps if you're going a bit slow. If you want to clear those a little bit faster. I forget if Blaze mentioned this or not, but when you grab a fist, when you already have the flames, when you already have the best weapon, it just acts as a star, so it clears the screen. So, just like that. We grab another heart for ourselves and desperately try to find the next wings. There they are. That said, all these little sand pits aren't too bad in the grand scheme of things in terms of obstacles in this game. I'll take those every single time. Don't have the fastest speed level right now, but you know what? I'm okay with that. If you're attempting the jumps, I think maybe the second speed is probably the best in this game. The second tier level, so if you get one speed upgrade, I think that's probably the best. It's the closest to match the jumping speed. So, but it's obviously very hard to plan to just stick with that second gear in this game. It's all the projectiles and power-ups that are constantly around you or being launched at you, thrown at you. So now we have another rehash of the the T-Rex boss again. Some folks say Steven Spielberg played this and was directly influenced to go on and make Jurassic Park. Other people call them liars. I count myself amongst those. I think if he'd played this, he would have been scared straight and never attempted to do anything featuring dinosaurs. I know I'm going to need a break pretty soon, as we have another tricky jump here. You want to clear off that skull before you make that jump. There's the double tap right there. Just a little break in between, but it's tough getting that timing just right. It's very stressful, the jumps in this game, not gonna lie. And we're way too fast for this point. I take a hit, but I don't want to lose my flames right now. It's not the best mechanic that your speed is tied to how many hits you've taken. Because we're going a little bit too fast for my liking right now. Alright, so I like to give myself as much time right here as possible whenever we have these gaps involved before I have to make a jump. Clear out some of these enemies, make sure you're firing when you make those jumps. That was lucky right there, I'll take that. We managed to hold on to our fire. And there's some more wings for us. Activate those immediately. I pray for you if you don't have wings for this upcoming section right here. All these awful jumps you need to make. Look at that. It's just stupid. Anyway, let's try to get a little less stupid by going to Fluff for one final Fluff fact while I desperately try to hang on to my wings. Fluff, what do you got?
Dino Riki is one of a handful of games on the NES which doesn't feature an ending, and instead just loops back to the first level again. Maybe Hudson Soft figured no one would ever actually beat it, so why bother? But even a congratulations or a nice job would have been appreciated.
Well, I wasn't expecting much, but now I guess I'll expect nothing in terms of an ending from this game, but that's fine. Not why we play them, sometimes. So we work on this Cobra boss again, same strategy as before, really. The corner route works quite well with the never-ending flames. Seems like he has a few more HP this time around. Turns around, gives us that goofy smile at the camera as if to say, "You're still playing this game?" So we have one final level now after those 3 mini levels, which for whatever reason is another desert level. I guess final is a relative term considering the game never ends, but before we take on the final boss, again final, a relative term, but basically the final boss. This one's not too bad actually. There's lots of projectiles and enemies and some tight stepping here as we try to avoid the fire, but there aren't really any pits. I don't really count these sand pits as the instant death pits. Obviously, if we fall into the middle of them, we will die, but yeah, this level's not quite as bad as what they've thrown at us before. And there's a heart up here as well. There we go. Tops off our health. For what it's worth, I don't know if you noticed this, but every time you get to a boss, your health gets refilled, so that's nice, but this is a relatively short level overall, and we're already at the final boss. Take us home, Gary.
Boss beaters. Right, the monster fly, the final boss in this game. Not the T-Rex, a giant fly. And he is the hardest boss in the game. You move left and right with him, always firing, but prioritize dodging the little flies which come out, and you'll take him down again. Not too difficult, especially after everything else you've done in this game. If you finally manage to beat it, congratulations, this is a hard game. Not including the bosses, but everything else. Very difficult. Congratulations.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, this is not too bad, just like most of the bosses in this game. We're just moving with them like Gary said. Focus on the little flies. Taking our shots. Wondering why a fly is the final boss in this game. But eventually we should put him down. There we go. And, you know, plenty of health to spare considering we didn't pick up any hearts during this game, or picked up a few, but didn't go out of our way to pick up any. And as Fluff said, we just loop it right here, so there you go. Adventures of Dino Riki, very challenging platformer. Not surprising considering who made it, Hudson Soft, but yeah, forgotten game in a lot of ways. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but thank you for attending this class. Leave a comment, let me know if you remember this game, you heard of this game, maybe if you've even never beaten this game. Don't forget to leave a like, it really does help us continue making future classes for you, and most importantly, please subscribe if you haven't. We do one of these classes every single week. We'd love to have you enrolled. And with that, we'll see you next week for next week's class in the same spot. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.